And she's back. So as I said in my last video, you all asked some amazing questions, which I didn't get to cover in the last one. So I decided I would come back today and finish up on some of those questions. I'm like too close to the camera. No one needs to see me up that close. Okay. So one of the things I'm noticing this week is that people are saying that they're feeling triggered to kind of go back to old habits. We kind of talked about this last time. This is not weird for any of us because we're all looking for ways to cope and kind of manage with what we're faced with right now during this time of coronavirus. I want to just put this out there so that when you watch this video, you start thinking ahead a little bit. This thing, pandemic, whatever, it's not going anywhere for a while. So the coping mechanisms that we are going to utilize are coping mechanisms that have to be sustainable long term. A quick fix of reverting back on your efforts to recover is not sustainable, so it doesn't fall into that category. Let's try to open up what we think of as a decent coping mechanism. And let's try to remember that, as I've been saying, for the last couple of weeks, we're not looking back to old habits, we're designing a new way forward. So let's keep that in mind as we go through this video. Okay, the first question has to do with self-criticism and mental health. The person asks how to maintain a consistent mindset. I totally get this. Everyone has an inner critic, and that is really normal. But here's what's really interesting. Not every thought that we have is rational or helpful. The thing is that our thoughts are not really facts. They're just thoughts. So it's important that we kind of unravel, is this a thought that I'm having or is this an actual fact? Am I all these things that I'm saying about myself, criticizing? Or is that just my perception because I'm in a moment of stress? We can borrow some of what we know about how to manage this from something called cognitive behavioral therapy. What cognitive behavioral therapy does, and I'm not going to go all the way into how it works in therapy, but what cognitive behavioral therapy does is it actually stops this like freight train of thoughts that might be making us feel anxious or criticized or kind of anything negative. And it helps us stop that and really check them against the facts of the situation so that we can unravel them and then kind of maybe reassess. I'm going to go through some of the questions right here. So when you have a thought of yourself that's critical, or when you have a thought that's really kind of dragging you down, ask yourself the following questions. What is the evidence that this thing is true? Am I confusing a possibility of something being true with the probability of it being true? Have I confused a thought with a fact? I do this all the time. Would I talk to a friend this way? And this one, man, this one's really compelling. All those criticisms that you're lodging at yourself, like, would you say that to a friend? Self-criticism can be really tricky because we think that because we're in our own heads, we know ourselves the best, but that's actually not true. Our vision of ourselves might be very much distorted by the context of other things that we're seeing in our world and also the outside stress that might be additionally causing anxiety about who or what we are. And as I always say, you've got to give yourself some grace, especially during these times. When you're in a moment of stress and anxiety, you're not looking in the mirror and going, gee, aren't I fabulous today? You're kind of just on survival mode. And the danger with that is that you are not able to see things super clearly. So just keep that in mind, especially right now. Okay, question 2, how do I stay patient in recovery? So I totally understand this frustration as well. Lots of people over the years have asked me, how can I do this quicker? Is there some kind of hack? Is there a pill? Is there a potion, a powder, a vitamin? How can I do this faster? So sorry to tell you, but there's no hacks. And the second thing I will say is that you really have 2 options when it comes to recovery. You can either go forward or you can go backwards. As we are seeing right now in the world around us, nature is going to do its thing. As much as we want things to go quicker, really, we cannot rush it. The best way to stay patient is to make choices every single day that are going to take you one step closer to recovery. So if that means taking rest days, if that means paying attention to how much exercise you're doing, if it means checking on your nutrition frequently, if it means meditating or reaching out to friends or just trying to keep your stress level low, those little things every day will add up, and that is the best thing you can do for your recovery. This is where I start getting a little bit prickly about things that clients tell me that they see in Facebook support groups. Sorry everybody, but I just have to tell you when there's BS, I have to tell you. I have clients that will tell me that there's people on Facebook support groups that will use the term, oh my God, I hate this term so much, you guys, I hate it, push calories, that the more they eat, that somehow is like some kind of magic bullet to recovery. Guys, no, okay, just no. First of all, the term, I don't know where it came from, it's just weird. Second of all, I want to remind you that the name of the game with recovery is sustainability. The behaviors and thoughts and practices that you are building now in your recovery should be things that carry you through. They should be habits and thoughts and ideas, things that you are setting up for yourself for long term. Health is not a temporary thing. We don't want you to be doing something at one point and then drop off doing it because, why? If you want to stay healthy, you've got to continue to do the things that are making you healthy. This is kind of related to the next question, which has to do with hypothalamic amenorrhea and fertility. The question was, what can I expect with regard to my fertility having recovered from HA? You've probably heard me say this before, but hypothalamic amenorrhea, in some ways, I sometimes say it's like frostbite, in the sense that if you've ever had frostbite once, you know that skin, that tissue is much more likely to be sensitive to the cold again. It's kind of the same thing with HA. Once your hormones have been compromised and you've been down that road, you are that much more sensitive to physical or mental stress going forward. That means, and I'm going to be frank with you, if you are looking to get pregnant after having recovered from HA, even more important for you is that concept of sustainability. I would actually go so far as to say that there's no such thing as out of the woods for a person who has recovered from HA and is looking to get pregnant. The practical concept behind all of this is that fertility, or whether or not you are going to get pregnant, is really dictated by your ability to understand when you ovulate. So getting consistent periods is extremely important for this. You've got to be extra diligent about maintaining physical and mental health. You have to realize that the habits that you're putting in practice through your recovery are going to be those that carry you through hopefully getting pregnant and even through your pregnancy. I think the best people to offer you a little bit of information about how they managed it are some of the people that I've worked with. So if anyone is watching this video and we've worked together before to achieve recovery and you've had a baby, or if you're trying to have a baby, I would love it if you could maybe comment below and tell us a little bit about your mindset and your routine getting you through those different stages. The next question is a tough one. A college athlete who says, that she has to continue to participate in her sport because it's part of her scholarship, and so she has amenorrhea right now and is really unable to, in her words, put her full effort toward recovery at this time until she graduates. I have worked with a number of athletes in this very same position, and it is not easy. There is no doubt about that. I fully understand that not only financial, but other constraints dictate your schedule. I am very much aware of that. The number one tip that I can give you that can be helpful in this moment, actually I think it's the most helpful thing you can do in this moment, is to be open and have communication with not only your teammates but your coaches. If you would actually like to learn a little bit more about someone who's been through this, I would encourage you to check out Rachel Rose Style. She wrote the book Running in Silence, and she was an All-American runner at Aquinas. She went through this, so I would definitely say check out some of her stuff. In the meantime, the real talk about this is that when an athlete is going through this, some of the things that they can be concerned about aside from their own health is what people will think of them if their body changes, and whether or not they will have any performance issues if and when they have to gain weight in order to try to get a period back. A lot of this is related to shame. Athletes will feel shame when they experience body changes. They are used to being seen in a certain way, and they don't want to think about what it would be like to present themselves as an athlete with a different body, perhaps. I think there's some people who still feel as though HA is something taboo and that it says something about their failure or success as an athlete, as a person. So really important way to get rid of shame is to put it right out in the open. Speaking up and speaking out is a great way to take control of the situation, to not feel helpless, to not feel that shame. Let people know what's happening. And if you feel scared about that, that's completely understandable, but you might also be helping someone else who's going through the same thing. The rest of the details are going to be the same for you as they are for anyone. It is to try to get out of energy deficiency. So taking care of your nutrition, trying not to, do those active recovery days, take time off when you can, do not do extra workouts, manage your on-season and off-season. Really, periodization of training can be very important here. Some of the people that I've worked with in the past, I've actually sat down with them and looked at their weekly and monthly schedule and have been able to sort of calculate out for them how to sort of visualize everything, nutrition and activity together. And I'm happy to do that again for anyone who needs it. All the information is below where you can schedule a call with me. Here's a good question question, what is life like after HA recovery? So yesterday was my birthday. The reason why I mentioned it is because 4 years ago on my birthday, I ran a marathon in Rome, and I said that was it. I was gonna recover right after that. So it's kind of like an auspicious date. So what is life like for me? Well, okay. So most of you know that I don't run anymore. That is partly because of the tear in my hip, the labral tear in my hip. Another reason for that is because I just don't want to. Shocking, right? I know you would think like, how is it possible that running was your life and now it's not anymore? Your priorities shift in life. Maybe not exactly right after your recovery. Mine didn't. I still continued to try to run ultras after my recovery, and it was really bad for my body. It was really not great for my mind, so I just kind of walked away from it. I will tell you that my body is definitely more sensitive to stress than it was, physical and mental. I can always tell because my cycles will get longer and I will get really bad PMS symptoms when I'm in a very stress mode. For example, this past fall with school, I had, thesis stuff I was working on. I had final exams. I was writing my book. I was doing all these different things, and my periods were just out of control. It was like worst like cramps ever. And that's typically a sign that my body is really, really, really undergoing a lot of stress. I still celebrate when I get a period. I know I'm a dork. I still text my mom when I get my period, and I'm like really excited. It's just something that I never take for granted, and I'm super happy when it happens. So that's still a thing. I still think about the amount of physical activity that I'm doing. I still think about what I'm eating. I'll go through a course of a day and it's just habit. I'll just be like, oh, did I have starchy carbs today? Yes, no. And then I'll maybe just make sure that I get them in. If I don't, I always do, by the way, like that's not even a question at this point, but just in case on the off day that I just didn't have something, I always throw it in. Same thing for exercise or movement or whatever it is. If let's say I do pretty gentle activity on the regular, I walk or hike in the little mountain near my home or go to the pool. Actually, I'm not doing any of that right now, obviously. But if, let's say my husband and I go for a hike on a Sunday and it's a really strenuous hike, like I'm taking Monday off. I just am. And I can't say that I would have done that, 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago, but I definitely do it now. It's just a new habit. It's just a new way of looking at things. Some really awesome things that came after recovery is just my mindset is completely different. So this may also come with age, guys, because let's be real. But I definitely, one of the things about the mindset is that body and physical standards are pointless. The body changes all day, every minute of every day. And to try to exert some kind of control over what I think should be happening versus what is happening, that's just not realistic. Comparison is a waste of time. And by the way, not just comparison to other people, but comparison to like previous versions of myself. That goes back to point number 1, which is body's changing all the time. That's normal. That's how we stay healthy. Another thing that's different for me now is that movement and like breathing is a lot more important to me than training or exercise. What I mean by that is I'm not interested in exercise. Like I really do not, like you could not pay me to go into a gym at this point, and I would never say that I'm like training for anything, but I do like to move. I do like to go for a walk. I do like to get air and breathe outside and really find joy in that. I go swimming, I go to the pool, and the reason why I do that is really because this is gonna sound crazy, but I enjoy being under the water. I enjoy the meditative quality of motion in the water. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel just very relaxed. Even in this time of the quarantine and, I can't leave my house, and figuring out what movement feels good to me has been kind of a learning process. A lot of the sort of like workout videos that I have seen on YouTube are things that are just, sorry to say that, they're just like way too aggro for me. Like I don't really care about, sculpting body parts, and I don't care about, I've always been against HIIT cardio, you guys know that. So I found this really great YouTube channel that's like African dance that I love. I've been doing some like weird ballet kind of inspired exercises and like a walk at home thing. Just ways of moving my body that feel good, that don't feel like exercise, that feel joyful. I have a massive like BS meter for like fitness people and like Instagram accounts with like fitness influencer-y kind of people. I can see when someone's overtraining. I can see when someone's not eating enough. I can just tell just by their account, the things they say, the things they post. I can literally like predict burnout at this point, and I just really see some of that stuff as just desperation and a little bit sad, I'm sorry to say. Especially now with coronavirus going on, I'm seeing all these like fitness people that are doing like their workout from home programs. I saw one for kids the other day. Like, honestly, everyone just needs to like simmer down on that for sure, but this is something that never would have occurred to me before HA recovery. Yeah, now that I'm older, there's a bunch of stuff that doesn't really make sense anymore. And I would be happy to do a video about all of the crap that you don't think about when you get to be my age, if anyone's interested in that. It's nothing to do with HA recovery or overtraining, but I would be happy to address it. By the way, make sure you moisturize your neck. Yeah, that's something I wish I knew before. It is extra important that we take care of ourselves in our bodies and in our minds at this point. This is not the time to start a new running routine. This is not the time to put extra pressure on yourself to achieve stuff. This is not the time to, have heard all that crap about writing the great American novel in quarantine. Like, no. What you should do are things that feel restorative to you. So if that is like I was doing last week, like cross stitch, okay, do that. If it's baking banana bread, do that. I mean, God knows everybody and their mother has a new sourdough starter this month. Please do not put additional pressure on yourself in this moment. Please know that everything that we knew about our lives before is going to be different. You're going to be different, and that's a good thing, because when you close one door, you open another. And hopefully, as we all move forward, we're going to be able to leave behind the things that did not serve us, and we're going to be able to forge a new path ahead. Email me at acaseofthejills@gmail.com. You can also schedule a call with me if you want to talk in person. Just know that nobody's an expert in any of this right now, and all we're trying to do is take care of each other. So stay home, stay safe, wash your damn hands. I'm with you. We're going to be fine. Take care, everybody. Have a good week.